Good morning, everybody, and welcome back. Or if you're new here, welcome to another edition of Kingly Conversations. This week, we have another hot one for you. But before we get into all of that, Zoe's got some shout outs.
Hey, yo, what up? You know what time it is. Just want to shout out to John down in South Carolina, man. I appreciate your support. Thanks for listening, man. More to come.
Hey, everybody, this week, we're getting into it about a tyrannical government. So strap in, let the kings talk about it. All right, good people, welcome back to another edition of Kingly Conversations, man. And as I am every single week, I'm Alan.
You know it's your boy Twine, man. You know what time it is. I asked you about my podcast, man. Yeah.
It's your friend, your mentor, Calvin D. Hill.
All right, so this week, man, we're going to be talking about what a tyrannical government looks like. And here's the reason, as we get, since this is my topic, since this came up, the reason it came up is back in the summertime, I had a gentleman come to my house to talk to me about getting solar right on the house. And then we got to talking about other stuff, and he was talking about that, he owns a firearm, not really to protect himself, but in case a to protect himself against a tyrannical government. And so that got me to thinking, well, what the heck does a tyrannical government even look like?
Yeah, that's a good question.
So that is the question that I'm going to be posing today. We're going to briefly talk about the definition of what tyranny is, and then just talk about if there was a tyrannical government in the United States, what would that look like? Because depending on your vantage point is going to determine what a tyrannical government is. I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat it. As a black person living in the United States, the government has been tyrannical since 1619. So I don't know what people are talking about when they say, if we get to a tyrannical government. I'm like, name a time when it wasn't tyrannical. So that's just me, though.
I'm going to just be honest with you. I'm looking up the word tyrannical.
Oh, you don't even have to look at it. I got the definition right in the notes.
Okay, cool. So you said it, I thought we were talking about
He's talking about the unjust or oppressive government power, which he's saying from the black perspective that's what it has been. And a lot of people may agree with him. A lot of people don't.
I'm sure.
Play both ends, but at the same time, if you've been oppressed by your government as a people, that's why he said it's a tyrannical government.
Got it.
So, and that becomes the problem. And that's really the problem, I think, with all systems of government is what it all comes down to what the individual thinks is tyrannical and unjust. Because how do you know, like, you don't have anything that says this is just and this is unjust. Right. There's nothing that says, there's no piece of paper that you can look at and say, yep, checklist, all these things make this unjust. You don't have anything like that. So how do you know? Well, how would you know if something was just or unjust?
Yeah, it really depends on what guidelines we're using to say if something's just or unjust. I wouldn't know.
It's all subjective. And when you say it's based on what you think it is. So it's with it being selective like that, with everybody's different opinions and what they think, then how can you come to one resolution?
I got one for before we really dive into that. Huey, give me 2 examples of this tyrannical government that we have dealt with for years. Just 2, because I don't want him to start and go on a train. But give it, because some people don't agree. Some people don't think it was like that, but just give us two so we can get started.
Okay, so I'll give you. I mean, I've got a couple. I've got a couple listed, right? So one of them is the Patriot Act. If you actually read the Patriot Act and the powers that are now given to the government inside of the Patriot Act, it's amazing to me that there wasn't an uprising then for the people that say that they are against oppressive regimes and tyrannical governments. Because if you read it, it essentially gives the government, if they say you're engaged in terrorism at all, it gives them unchecked power to do whatever they want, and they can monitor American citizens without a warrant, without anything, as long as they do it under the guise of national security. But nobody batted an eye at that, because it was right after 9/11. They passed this act, and so I'm assuming that people probably thought that, oh, well, they're only going to use this against certain types of people. So they didn't. So nobody batted an eye at it. They just said, "Yep, we need the Patriot Act." That's the reason why you got, why the airlines became more difficult to travel on as far as security and all the other things. But there was a lot of stuff in the Patriot Act, and it just slipped under everybody's radar, and nobody talks about it because they were okay with it, because they didn't feel like they were the ones being targeted.
Well, after the January 6th event, don't you think we need this Patriot Act?
Clearly, it don't work. Because if it did, January 6th wouldn't have happened. But
a lot of people laying on the floor.
Would have been all the bodies on the floor. It would have been a lot more people that would have been, if they were using it equally, there would have been a lot more people that would have been picked up prior to even getting down to the Capitol during January 6th.
So don't you think they'll start using it now?
Oh, I'm sure they already are. I mean, we know they are, because here's what we do know. We already know that if you say anything in terms of like trying to unalive the president, you will get a phone call. Probably not a phone call. You'll probably get a visit, but
yeah, knock on your door.
Like, hey, we need to have a conversation with you.
No, that would never happen.
Let me tell you about the freedoms of speech you don't have. That is one of them. You cannot threaten the president.
This is America.
Sure, man, sure. So the Patriot Act was one. The Mulford Act was another one. That was state government, but the Mulford Act was another one. That was where that was essentially where gun control started in the United States, because the Black Panthers came and stood in and around the courthouse, the state capitol in California, and they was like, oh, we can't let these people do this. So that's why I said, from my view, when has the government, if you are about absolute freedom, individual freedom, when has the government not been tyrannical?
Talk about it.
If we're talking about tyranny being unjust or oppressive government power, because I can tell you from the very beginning, people initially thought that any government power was unjust and tyrannical. That's the reason. That's one of the reasons it was so difficult to get these 13 colonies to coalesce into one unit called the United States of America, because everybody wanted their own. Essentially, they wanted to control their own state and not be beholden to some other federal power. But that's why I asked the question, because that's what the guy said. He was like, that's the entire reason he owns firearms, is in case he needs to fight against the government. And I'm thinking, bro, you ain't got enough bullets in the world.
Right. So why would you fight against something that's designed to protect you and help you live this life?
Well, if you become an enemy of the state, it ain't gonna protect you.
You're gonna be like that Will Smith movie. You're gonna be chased and hunted for whatever reason.
I don't think that would happen.
I don't think you should be close to the mic, but things
Things happen all the time, man.
Things happen all the
You
time.
know. So that was a couple of other things that, and we can, I mean, obviously we could probably look at almost any, because there's a reason why when they were trying to get support for the Constitution, I mean, because they wrote a bunch of papers trying to get support for the Constitution before, because they were trying to convince people that this was a good idea. They were called the Federalist Papers. And there were hundreds of them trying to explain what the Constitution was about, explain what they were trying to do, and all of this, because they were trying to get the people to agree to go in this direction.
It's getting everybody on the same page to work together. That's what you're trying to say, or that's what they were doing.
That's what they were trying to do, because people didn't agree. They didn't, they had been used to being, because you got to remember, so you're talking 160 years after people started murdering the native population to live here. So they didn't want to. They wanted to remain in their cliques and in their groups. They didn't want to be a part of something larger. I mean, history would like to lie to you and tell you that everybody was on board with the revolution, but they really weren't. They really were not. Everybody was not on board with the revolution. There were a ton of people that when the British left, they left with the British.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like everybody that was here just was like, oh, let me stay in the colonies, or we don't like the crown. That was not necessarily the case. It was just like everything, just like today. There were pockets of dissenters. The only difference is these dissenters can't actually win. They can't actually win a physical fight. And the truth is, the United States wouldn't have won a physical fight if France and Spain hadn't intervened anyway. We would have lost anyway. We would still be under the crown if that hadn't happened. So one of the other definitions of tyranny is a government where a single ruler has absolute power. And I think that from what we've seen here recently in our history, there's more than a few people that actually want that. So they say they don't want tyranny, but that while simultaneously supporting tyranny.
Exactly.
But it's not tyranny for them because he would be on their side.
But and that may be true today, but the problem with tyranny is it knows no bounds. So this guy might be on your side, but the next guy, and there's always a next guy, whether it's due to death or otherwise. There's always a next guy, and so you got to, I think sometimes people got to stop wanting what they really don't want. Like if you want, but I get it. Everybody. The problem is control, and total control is tyranny. In our context, somebody that has absolute power would be a president that has unchecked and absolute power, where you can't question their decisions, you can't question, anything that they say. And I've always said, though, anybody that inspires such or that demands such loyalty that they can't be questioned is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Because you should be able to question everybody. Anybody and everybody's motives should be able to be questioned. It's not like, I'm not saying that everybody is evil, but I should be able to question, okay, well, why did you make this decision? It shouldn't be a situation where I can't ask that question and ask that you defend your position with actual words.
You gonna make them actually work? What?
I mean, that's just how I get down, man. I just, So, what does a tyrannical government look like? I'm actually asking.
That's a great question. I mean, because from the definition right here, unjust or oppressive governmental power, but even I will go back to the laws that have been made and enforced in this country. Like nothing has been very, it's never been like in your face. It's always been through like back doors that things things get incorporated and plans and and laws be put in place out of sight that kind of rule our land, and how people are oppressed and how people are unjustly uh, uh, dealt with. You know what I mean? Am I making sense at all? Because I just
I understand. I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
you see, because when I'm reading, I say that because when I'm reading the definition, it's like an oppressive governmental power, or so that to me is it's not really what it's what we go through, but it's not as in your face like as some of these other countries are. Does that make sense? Like for us, it's like it's somebody recording it and it being advertised or being broadcasted. So I think for us, it's always been like under the table, like swept under the rug type thing.
I think to me that's when they were trying to get Trump in office. That's what it would have looked like. Well, to keep him in office rather. That's what it would look like. And you have people that think they want that. That's what they want. They want one person in charge of everything.
And I don't know. It's weird that they say they. It's weird that people want that.
But they say they love democracy and America and
No,
but well,
They love democracy as long as they're in control.
and they lost control. So now we want our guy. We need our guy in charge.
no.
And that's
That's what it. Yes. That's what it is. That's what they wanted. That's why they did what they did. If you say no, I'm gonna tell you, buddy, this is our country.
It's just amazing to me though how difficult it is for people to see that the thing that you want is exactly the thing that you simultaneously say you don't want. Because if you say you want one person to be in charge, that is the definition of tyranny. But I guess since it, like you said, like since it's my guy, it don't matter. And I'm like, no, it always matters. Because I don't trust. I don't trust. I've said it before on this podcast. I don't trust any politicians that I don't know personally. I do not, and I probably never will, because I know that you'll Sugar Ray Leonard me in a heartbeat. And what I mean by that is Sugar Ray Leonard had this move where he would spin his fist around, like he was getting ready to hit you with it, and then jab you with the right hand. And that's what you'll do every single time. You'll smoke and mirrors on the one hand while there's a backroom deal being made on the other. I mean, that's the whole way that we got Washington, D.C. in the first place. Is it was a backroom deal so that one person could get what they wanted and somebody else could get what they wanted. So the people.
What's wrong with that?
What's wrong with that?
What's wrong with that?
That's not democracy. That's all. I'm not. It ain't nothing wrong with it, I guess, except it ain't democracy.
Why are you trying to get Huey all feeling?
I mean,
Why are you trying to get Huey?
This is America, buddy. This is America, buddy. And if you don't like it, you can leave.
Well, I mean, you know what? I'm glad you said that. Because a lot of people out here complaining about the current president and what he's not doing and all this other stuff.
He don't know what he's doing.
No. If you don't like it, leave.
Exactly. Keep that same energy, player. You don't like it, leave.
You don't like it, leave.
That's exactly what you told me when I was.
Hey, that's what they told you for 8 years. 8 years straight.
If you don't like it, leave. It's a part of the like that's. Oh my God, man! Don't get. You know what? Nope, not gonna do it. Not gonna do it. Nope.
Hey, if you don't like it, leave.
Because it baffles me, man. The ignorance of some people, man. That's what...
Look. They're not gonna take our guns.
You're right. But there's laws being put in place.
But that, you know, that's
amongst. See, this is the thing.
That's funny.
Okay. Now I understand why I said what I said before, and I sound like I was drunk, but I'm not. I'm just drinking coffee, espresso. Now I'm here. I feel espresso kicking in, and this is what I was thinking.
Another one. Go ahead.
So the laws are put in subsidies, if that's the correct word. So you have this big law, that you have the big bill that says, hey, we want to put this construction in this building, and then you're going to throw in 10, 15 other different bylaws in there, whatever, that has nothing to do with construction, and is affecting how the people operate and what they're doing and what they can and cannot do. So that's what I meant by it's not in your face. I think it's done in a sly way to, like, if you don't read the fine print, you're not going to know what's going on.
But my question is, my question is, do you really think the government's just going, or one person just going to come into power and take over and take everybody's guns, and y'all not going to have the freedoms and privileges of this American land that we love? Do y'all really think our government is going to do something like that? No.
Yes. It won't be one person. It'll be subtle and it'll be over time. Same way everything else happens. Because here's what everybody learned, right? Everybody learned from everyone's favorite person in history, I guess, or most infamous person in history.
The greatest president that ever was?
No, I'm talking about Hitler in this particular example. They learned from Hitler that you can't do anything that fast, and that if you try to do something by force and that fast, then the world will rally against you. But if you can do it over time, then what you do is it's kind of like I heard this story about, like if you put some crabs in water, just a pot of water,
too high.
Well, but like if you cut it up too fast, they'll try to jump out. But if you just get a slow simmer going on and slowly bring that temperature up, you get the same result. But they don't. But the crabs don't fight back against that result. So that is, and so they just end up sitting there still dying. And I think that's how you end up doing. That's how you end up getting there. Is over time you consolidate more and more and more power, not necessarily in the presidency, just in whatever party that president comes from. Because if you have enough power in the three governing bodies, then you can effectively almost always get your people elected. And that's how. So they won't have it. Instead of it being unchecked power by one person, it'll be unchecked power by one party. And we've seen it. I mean, we've seen that depending on which party is in power at the time, one party just rams everything down everybody's throat when they have a majority. And the other party doesn't really do that because they're not as aggressive. Don't both
parties do that? They ram something down their throat that we don't want, and then the other party jump in and ram something else down your throat that we don't want?
It depends on, no, I don't. The problem is when we say we don't want, if you look at the polls, what is we don't want?
Well, everybody don't agree.
I mean, everybody's never going to agree, but if you're in a democracy, it should be whatever the majority says.
Well, the majority is wrong.
Yep, exactly. See? And that's how you get tyranny.
Already, out the gate.
That's exactly how you get tyranny.
All wrong. This is our country.
That's how you get tyranny right there. That's it.
This is ours. It's my house.
Okay. You think it's your house.
Okay.
You just think it's your house. I mean, what am I going to argue with you?
Till they kick in the door waving the 4-4. Then you find out whose house it is. It ain't yours.
It is.
Ooh, that's a bar. Yeah, you're talking bars this early.
But so that's why, I mean, I just, it's like, to me, it's if you're a person that is like, we need absolute freedom and autonomy over our person and our household, then anything that infringes upon that is tyranny. But the people that want you to the dog whistle people, it's only tyranny if it's not what I want.
Exactly.
And if it's what I want, it doesn't matter what it is. It's not tyranny because it ain't tyranny to me. And I'm like, nah. We got to deal with definitions, my guy. Tyranny is tyranny. It doesn't matter what side it's on. And so if it's just understand that we're already living in tyranny and you ain't fought back yet. So you ain't going to recognize tyranny even if it punch you in the mouth, especially if it's tyranny from the people that you believe in. Because you're going to make all the excuses in the world for why it ain't tyranny, and it is. That's all I'm saying. That's all. Like, let's just keep that same energy. That's all. That's all I really ever want.
I finally found a group of people that thinks like me, so now I'm out here in these streets. I want what I want with the great leader.
The great leader. The great leader. I'm using that. The great leader.
The great leader.
The great leader. Yeah.
I'm just saying, man.
That's what we do. We find somebody saying what we want to say.
Right. And we follow down behind that until we get what we want, and then they switch up.
And that to me is why it's so dangerous, because it's like you spiting yourself every time. Like you people vote not in their own best interest, because instead of doing some reading, they get caught up in these dog whistles. Like even now. So even now, I know that if somebody is running for office, and it's unfortunate because it really is unfortunate, but this is the way that they have made it. As soon as they say that they're for freedom and faith, I'm like, nope, not at all. Because now to me, you sounding just like a Christian nationalist to me. And if we want a theocracy, okay, just say that. Say we want to live. Say we want to. Man, they trying. Even though they brand of Christianity is not Christianity, but whatever.
Right.
They think it is. Out here misquoting every scripture known to man just to suit they. You know what it sounds like. You know what it sounds like. It sounds like. It sounds like the Catholic Church in the Middle Ages is what it sounds like. We're going to twist this thing for whatever political gain we can get. This is why I like history, though. Because when you know history, people can't lie to you. Or it's much more difficult for them to lie to you.
They can still lie.
They can try, but you gonna look at them with the side eye, like that kid was looking at that lady, that meme that you gonna be looking at him like, that don't sound right. So it's like, nah, that don't make sense because X, Y, and Z. So that's where it's just always been. It's like the cognitive dissonance is strong, so strong. And I don't understand, I guess because, you know what? It don't matter. It don't matter.
All right. Reel them in.
I'm going to buy me an island and just move over there. I'm done.
Reel them in.
So to go along with that, because the same person was talking about, it got me to thinking when they mentioned that they have guns to protect themselves against a tyrannical government. And, I was thinking, how do you even know what tyranny looks like? Then I was thinking, well, how many people would have to be willing to die for this belief for you to even have a chance if you were trying to rise up physically against a tyrannical government? Like, it's one thing to rise up politically against a tyrannical government, but if you rose up physically against a tyrannical government, how would that play out? And I looked at the numbers from not just the American Revolution, but I took the American Revolution, I took the Civil War, I took, these different conflicts that were supposed to be about freedom or whatever. And I said, well, how many people died in those? And without fail, it was about 2% every single time. 2% of the population at the time in the country needed to be willing to die.
This number you talking about before we discussed earlier, correct?
Yeah, that's the number we were talking about earlier. So at the time, at the time of the American Revolution, it was 2% of the population, and I didn't pull that number because I had already written down the notes. But during the Civil War, there were 31 million people in the country at the time, and the Civil War on the conservative end, 660,000 people died, which is right at 2%. Right at 2%. So I did that. I said, okay, well, based on the numbers that we have today, that is 6.6 million people that would need to be willing to die for their cause if they wanted, quote unquote, revolution, which is never going to happen. So they're just going to do it politically, because 6.6 million people are not willing to die for their beliefs. They just ain't. Not in today's world. Not when we have all this comfortability.
I don't know, because there was a lot of people who felt as if they I don't think they thought they were going to die though. So never mind.
Yeah, they didn't. But during the American Revolution, you knew that was a possibility.
Yeah.
In the Civil War, you knew that, and that was just the deaths. That didn't even count the casualties.
Right.
Those were just the people that were killed. That does not count at all. Oops, didn't mean to do that. That does not count at all the people that were maimed, injured, or otherwise. Right? Doesn't count them at all. And then you'd be talking about 2 million people. So
on this topic, man, because like I said, there's a lot of people out here that just don't understand because they don't have the knowledge. Like, what would you say to someone who needs to be educated, or they're talking opposite of what the facts are stating? What would you say to a person like that in regards of getting misinformed initially?
The truth? Nothing.
Nothing? Oh.
Here's the reason why I say that. Because the information is out there.
True.
And you ain't looking for it. You're not even trying to find out. You just, it's like, I know somebody right now that there's a website they follow. Doesn't matter what they put out. They just buy it.
Come on. Really?
They just buy it. Doesn't matter what they say. Doesn't matter what they say. Because it's one of these like conspiracy type websites. And it doesn't matter what the website says.
Right.
They just buy it. As a matter of fact, I remember when about a year ago or whatever, I was at the Y, and there was somebody in the locker room talking about how everybody who took the vaccine would be dead by October. Wrong.
I'm still here. I'm still
like what is you talking about, bro? Like, you're not a prophet. Go sit down.
All right, Fisher.
And sometimes I wish I could catch up with these people and be like, hey, you stupid.
Oh, God.
You stupid. Go sit down. Sit down and shut up. But that's the problem we got today. The problem we got is, huh?
You can't say that.
Yes, you can. As long as you got hands, you can say whatever you want.
What you mean you got hands?
Calvin know what I'm talking about.
Hands. I don't know. Hands.
Hey, if you can't beat me, I can say whatever I want.
That's a shame. That's sad.
They did. You out here spouting this nonsense, so I can come back and say, hey, you're dumb. You're dumb. DUM, dumb.
Wow.
So I just be, don't get me dumb. Don't worry about me, people. I just get upset when people, one of the things that has always bothered me, even as a young person, was willful ignorance. That's all. And that's always been my problem. It's one of the things that I feel like, huh?
Shout out to Will, who's full of ignorance, man.
It's one of those things that I feel like I have been purposed to assist people with not being as ignorant, because it really does. It really burns me up, and I mean really burns me up when people are just dumb for dumb's sake. Like they're not even trying.
Well, we can't be judgmental, man.
Yes.
I'm gonna be honest. At one point, I was ignorant, but as far as not knowing, but then again, there's people out there that don't care.
They intentionally don't want to know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right.
Those are the people that get on the ones that it's not like if you don't know, but then some information is introduced, and you're like, oh, okay, and you like, Salah, think about that. Let me pause and ponder that.
I like
but
that.
you know, but then if you are just like, here's new information, no, that can't be right because my mama's grandmama's daddy's uncle's cousin said, man, stop it.
Oh, Colonel Sanders,
stop this. Stop this. Like, man, you don't even know what the 11 herbs and spices are, man. Get out of here. So that's been my issue, is that it's people that they don't even want to take the time to try. They just like whatever this thing says, I believe it. And I guess, and it's Calvin's fault, I guess that I'm just not that way because for years, for 20 some years, I believe certain things only to find out, oh, what you mean this ain't true? This is what I've been told my whole life. And so from that moment on, everybody a liar till I prove you true. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody lying till I prove you true. So, and maybe I shouldn't be that way. Maybe I should be more trusting of people. But I know that is, as one of my mentors, Jim Rohn, said, it is possible to be sincere and sincerely wrong. So I can't weigh sincerity on truth scales, because if it doesn't matter how sincere you are if it ain't true. And so many people, I think, get caught up in saying, oh, well, you know, they're so sincere, so it must be accurate. No, it ain't. Don't allow somebody else's version of events to be your version of events, especially if you know them to be different, or if you can even find out if they are different. That's all I'm saying. Like, just, you know, try a little bit.
Ain't nobody got time, and I'm tired, and I don't have the time. So
okay, let's see how much time it takes. Give me a random thing that somebody has said, and I'm gonna see how long it takes to see if it's true. Real time.
What's current out here in these streets? What Ye saying?
A lot.
What's saying?
A lot. That's not. You have to give me like a supposed fact, and see how long it takes me to look it up. What you want?
50% of all households are single parent households in Chesapeake, Virginia.
Sir, you're being real granular, but I'm gonna check.
Check it ain't. Check it ain't. It's 33.
That was fast.
I ain't got that was him. I ain't got it yet. I'm getting it now.
But that's his point. It don't take long to go look it up. Go check.
I got you. I understand. I know.
It don't take long.
It doesn't. Matter of fact, I can even tell you right now what the household income is in Chesapeake.
They got the stats for it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's stats for everything. Somebody has done the research already, and all you got to do is look the stuff up. Like, somebody's already done all this research.
The information there.
If you want it. But so many people don't want it because if they got the information, like, okay, so here's one thing that is just blows my mind every time is, and they do it. Here's the thing I will say. People do a good job of misleading and misinforming people. They do a very, very good job of doing it, because I've been looking up the candidates for school board in the city we live in, right? And because there's no information on the school board candidates, there's some information on the city council candidates, but nothing really on the school board candidates. And I found a video, and one of the people in their thing, they were saying that one of the things they want to do is make sure that CRT is not being taught in the classroom. And I'm like, it ain't. Like, it's a college level course. Like, it ain't being taught in the classroom at all. Never has. But what they really are saying is, we don't want you to teach any history we're uncomfortable with. And I'm like, so then you don't want us to teach history, because all of American history is uncomfortable history. Like, you can't, there's no way to separate that. All of it is uncomfortable. Every single bit of it is uncomfortable history. And you would probably find the same for most countries as they exist today. Every bit of their history is uncomfortable history, because there are good things and bad things that have happened in the past.
True.
You know, so, but that was what one of the candidates was saying. And I was just like, okay, well, I know what category to put you in, because you're using the dog whistles. As soon as you're using dog whistles, I'm like, I know what category to put you in already.
So I got a question, and then we can wrap up if y'all like. So, do you, like, talking about these persons that willfully don't educate themselves and just receive information and take it for what it is and take that as the truth? Do y'all see yourself associating with them?
Not at all. But I also don't associate. I don't associate with people that I don't have things in common with. And once we don't have humanity in common, I can't really associate with you.
Wow.
That's we can have a lot of things not in common. Like, yeah, if we don't have humanity in common, then if you saying you want freedom, but then I see you supporting tyranny, then no, we don't have humanity in common.
Oh, so your words gotta match your actions.
Gotta match your actions, or and I won't even say your actions. Your words gotta match your words. Like, you can't just, don't be out here using double speak. And I know some of these things are complex. Like, a lot of these issues are complex. But your words gotta match your words. Like, you can't say I'm for this, but then simultaneously say, well, I don't think that we should be allowed to do this. Well, what? Like, my thing is, okay, so if somebody says they're against murder, then you should be against it in all its forms.
Okay.
All of them. And they're not. They're against certain murder.
Certain murder.
Certain murder.
Okay.
Meaning they're not against the death penalty. They're not against sending kids to die in war. They're not against killing somebody in self-defense. They are only against what they consider to be child murder. And I'm like, that's not congruent. That is, to me, that's not congruent. You either are or are not. If you for murder, just say I'm for murder in these certain circumstances. I'm okay with killing people if they've done something wrong. Okay. But don't say I'm not for killing people and then you for killing people. Just tell us where you stand all the way around. And don't pretend as though, like, it's like, I think most people don't actually have a problem with murder. I think politicians have told you that you should have a problem with murder, but I think most people don't have a problem with murder. The reason I say that is because we live in the United States, a country founded on murder.
All right, cue the music.
Like, you don't have a problem with that history.
The music.
You don't have a problem with that.
Wrap it up.
Let me cue the music.
Dropping.
There you go. I got music for you. But you ain't got a problem with that. But you got a problem with this other murder. Nah. Congruency. That's all I'm saying.
I get it, man. I appreciate you, man.
Oh, you know what? Let me turn the music off. Hang on. I got one other thing.
All right, go ahead.
This was another thing that started. So when I was about probably a decade and a couple years ago, somebody tried. This was another thing that it was so easy to research, and I'm like, bro, like, all we gotta do is look stuff up. So somebody was like, well, I don't use the word picnic because it means picker. And I'm like this is so easy. Like that, it's so easy.
What? Okay. Wow.
Like, it don't even make any sense, because, like, it's like, why would they shorten the word with a C if that's what they were trying to say?
Right.
It actually is a French word, but you can't tell people stuff.
about to say, you sure? Because I heard otherwise.
And a lot of black people have. A lot of black people have, at least the ones that live in the United States. If you don't, and that's the other part of the problem is we see history from purely a United States perspective.
Okay.
And we don't see we don't see history from a global perspective. So just because the word, again, if we're going to say a thing is a thing, then that wasn't what it was used for. Now, that doesn't mean people weren't having picnics at hangings and at murders that they supposedly were against, but weren't, because they are for murder. It doesn't mean people weren't having picnics at it, but we can't say that the etymology of the word is that, because the word is French. So anyway, I don't know what Calvin is over there doing. He's just moving around.
I don't know. He's directing the choir right now. What are you doing?
I'm filling in the next topic.
Well, let me see what he said this next topic going to be.
So
the N word. Oh yeah, we gonna have some fun on that. The N word, the word that is now regained, that went up 500% on Twitter in one day after Elon took it over.
All right,
freedom. You free to say it. You free to get shot too.
No, ain't no getting shot because they said on TV, but you can't say gay, faggot, or queer, none of that stuff. But you freely use the N word.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're talking about.
Hey, listen. Shoot them all.
Come on, man.
All up.
I ain't signed up for this, man. Hold on, wait a minute. I'm just joking.
No, we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
We'll go to the next one.
All right, what y'all got, man?
Hey, man. Either they don't know, they don't show, or they don't care what's going on.
Hey, for those of y'all don't know, man, that's a reference from Boys in the Hood, man. Shout out to Ice Cube. Shout out to Cuba Gooding Jr. Shout out to Lawrence Fishburne.
All y'all, man.
Shout out to there was so many actors in there, man.
There was.
Shout out to Nia Long. They don't know. They don't show. Or they don't care what's going on in the hood, man. What you got, Calvin?
Nothing.
That's it. Nothing.
Hey, listen, people. Every now and then, man, I do get a little fiery because I can't stand ignorance. That's all.
I like it.
That's all. I just can't. One of the things that burns, that really gets my goat, man, is ignorance. Willful ignorance, as I said before. So just, hey, look, just don't. In all thy getting. I knew he'd be shaking his head. Hey, look, just don't be dumb out here in these streets, man. Get some education while you're getting everything else that you got. And I don't mean like, I mean like actually look up stuff and figure it out. And don't believe anybody. Make them prove their stance with actual factual data. Make them prove it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you can be out here being led like sheep to the slaughter. And you be
dirty, dumb sheep.
Sheeple. That's always been weird to me too, because both sides are calling people sheeple. It's like somebody got to not be sheeple, man. Somebody got to not be sheeple, man. Somebody got to not be sheeple. All right, Calvin, I can see that you are having a good time over there.
All right, man, let's wrap this up before Calvin start pulling his hair out for real.
Man, we'll see y'all next week, man.
All right, yeah.